Yo, what's up guys? Punkrat with another video, and this one's gonna be real different. I'm actually gonna be doing a commentary on a speed run from a guild called Progress on Lightbringer 1.12. They did the entirety of Blackwing Lair in 25 minutes, and I love doing speedruns. I've always done speedruns. I've been in great guilds. I've been in great speedruns. I'm always that guy in the dungeon who's like he's tanking and just like pulling mob after mob after mob after mob, and I have noobs behind me that are just like, "Oh wait, tank, why are you pulling so fast? Slow down!" You know, like I'm Swifty jogging, trying to get Hotted behind me to run with me and get in shape, and he's like, "Slow down, Swifty, dude, I can't keep up." But anyways, yeah. So I made this video called "Can you play WoW, classic WoW casually?" And a lot of people in the comments were kind of like telling me I'm a noob for saying that, like, how fast you can clear vanilla content. And because of those comments, I was kind of inspired to maybe do some commentary and show you guys like the potential of how fast classic content can be cleared with really strong guild, with a really strong guild, and you know all the right things in place. So with that said, without further ado, let's get in the video and hope you guys like it. This is a guild called Progress on Lightbringer 1.12 private server, and it was the world record. It's not anymore, but it's, I don't know, the different world records on different private servers. Some private servers aren't that great and have like exploits and stuff that people are abusing, so the times aren't, world record thing is not super relevant. But anyways, not to get distracted on a tangent point. So these guys, first thing we'll notice, we'll go over the buffs. If you see over here, they have a whole line of all kinds of consumables and world buffs. This buff's Songflower Serenade. It's from little herbs or little flowers in Elwood. This is the buff from killing Hakar in Zul'Gurub and handing in the Heart of Hakar. This is Well Fed. This is Elixir of Mongoose. You got, I think that's Troll's Blood, if I'm not mistaken. Defense Elixir, Fortitude Elixir, Juju for strength, Juju for attack power. Those Jujus are quests that you unlock in Winterspring, and you can farm consumables that you can pop on yourself and teammates. This, I believe, is a fire protection potion, which is this right here, and this seems like another fire protection potion. I don't know, maybe one of you guys can tell me what the second one is. Flask of the Titan, which is a flask for HP. Here we got Spirit of Zanza, which is also a flask basically for HP. I don't think you're supposed to be able to stack these two, but you know, private servers aren't absolutely perfect. They're pretty good, but not perfect. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can't stack them. This is DM North Tribute buff right here, which is gives like 250 attack power, no, 200 attack power. This one's 15% increased HP from DM North Tribute again. We got the Dark Moon Fair buff, which is 10% increased damage. We got Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer, which is from handing in Onyxia's head or Nefarian's head. This is the War Chief's buff. The way you get this, because this is an Alliance guild, the way you get this in Alliance is you get mind controlled in Orgrimmar, and then you get the buff. It's pretty cheesy, but kind of cool. And here we go is a strength scroll buff. But yeah, just to go through kind of like what goes behind these speed clears. Like there's a whole lot of like prep before raid, like 2 hours basically of like gathering all the world buffs. Not 2 hours, but you get what I mean. And consumes and all that stuff. This is just a whole lot of effort that goes behind getting prepared for these buffs. I mean, for these buffs and for the raid. And here you'll see they also have some like engineering knickknacks and stuff like grenades and goblin sapper charge. They have roots for healing pots, basically some healing pots. And without further ado, let's get into the clear. So the first thing you're going to see here on Razorgore, when they're starting the fight, they're gonna run in like as a full melee group. Oh, actually, before we start, let's go over that. So if you see here, actually, as the raid composition, they're pretty much all melee. It's a bunch of warriors and a bunch of rogues. The reason that they do that is pretty simple. It's pretty obvious. The reason that they do that is they don't have mana, so they don't have to take breaks constantly drinking mana. And also, when you stack this many melee, when you're pulling trash, the moment that full group of like 20 melee DPS connects with one target, they're all gonna Sinister Strike, Bloodthirst and just connect on that target all at the same time. And when they all cast a nice ability burst on one target at the same time, it's basically going to get 100-0. So like they're just like trashing on mob after mob after mob after mob with their melee burst, essentially. And like the reason why it's kind of useless to bring casters in this sort of scenario is the mobs are going to be dying so fast with all the melee connecting them on them at the same time that like you won't even be able to get a shadow bolt off before the mob's dead. So it's worth just stacking as much melee as possible, and it works really well on horde side too, obviously because of Wind Fury. So here, the first thing that you see, they pull all the NPCs on Razorgore that are guarding the orb, and all of these blast waves are going off. See all these like blast waves, but there's only a couple mages. How are there so many blast waves going off? The reason all these blast waves are going off is an engineering ability. He has a keybound to his 5 over here, as you can see. This is called Goblin Sapper Charge, and it's an ability from engineering, and it's basically just a blast wave, but it doesn't slow. So all the melee just rush into all 3 of the NPCs. They all blast their Sapper Charges, and boom, everything's dead, like immediately. So it's a really nice little tactic that you see there. So then the fight is going to commence. Know what he's doing. Okay. So here the fight's going to commence. We could skip by all this. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen eggs being destroyed on Razorgore before, but it's not super exciting. But actually one thing that it does show is kind of what I was talking about. So they have the raid split up in 4 different groups at each corner in the boss room, and all ads are popping out of these little cubbies. And like when I was saying about how all the melees just connect with one target, you got like 5 melees over here, and the moment they're going to connect with this mage, boom, dead. See that? So like if you're a caster, you're not getting a cast off on that, you know what I mean? Like you can like cone a cold it and stuff, but it's like might as well just bring in a bunch of melee, right? So they're just gonna poop on all the ads. Melee are super strong in this fight specifically, like strong melee carry Razorgore so hard with the ads. Then you'll see killing all the eggs. 29 eggs, so on the last egg, every speed clear run that I've seen always leaves this egg as the last one. And what's really interesting now that you'll see here is all of the melee are popping potions. If you look at all the melees, they're all popping potions. This rogue right here, you'll see is in the act of popping his potion. This guy's in the act of popping his potion. And essentially what they're doing, even this guy, essentially what they're doing is they're popping a free action potion, which is why they have all these little like Diablo 2 like paladin auras under them, which is called, it looks like Blessing of Freedom from Paladins, but it's not a Blessing of Freedom. It's actually a free action potion, which is a 30-second immunity to all CC from Alchemy. It's a potion. And basically the reason why they're all doing this is this boss right here, Razorgore, has an ability called Conflagrate, which is an AoE fire cone that he does ahead of him. And if you get caught in that, it disorients you for 10 seconds. So immunity to CC, don't get conflagged, and they don't have to deal with that mechanic whatsoever, and they can just hard nuke through the boss. So you'll see right here, he's going to conflag, boom, and nobody gets CC'd, no problem whatsoever. And they're just going to absolutely blast this guy. They're going to blast him to the past. Here we go. So you'll see they all have the free action aura on them. Then next boss is Vaelastrasz, and obviously if you guys have done this fight before, but if you haven't, everyone has infinite mana, infinite rage, and infinite energy from the debuff that this boss gives you. It's one of the mechanics. It's called Burning Adrenaline, and Burning Adrenaline lasts I think 3 minutes, so they're actually going to use it after the boss as well. And the reason why it's so nice to have warriors and rogues obviously is they have infinite ability to just spam their strikes over and over again. And you'll see that Vaelastrasz is actually in a weakened state, so he starts off at 30% HP, and that means after nuking down 10% of his health, you're in full execute range, and all the warriors have infinite rage, just spamming execute over and over again. So you can see how that's pretty broken, and they're just gonna stomp through this real quick. There we go, 25%. And execute phase right here. Boom. And another thing that you'll actually be noticing here is there's actually like a bunch of cleaves. You see how cleaves are like pulsing. The camera angle is kind of bad, but there's like cleaves pulsing over and over again. The reason why they're cleaving instead of heroic striking is actually because cleave does similar single target damage to heroic strike. It's a bit less, but it pulls a way less threat on a single target. So it's just a precautionary method to just not over aggro from the main tank. And since they have full rage, they can just cleave over and over again. So a lot of the warriors are just cleaving even though it's single target. This warrior is like not cleaving at all, which I guess kind of makes sense since just execute phase, but even before. But I mean, you can time your cleaves with execute. I feel like he probably should have been cleaving and executing, although I don't know, I haven't done the math. So here you go, they're popping sprint pod? Did he pop a sprint pod? I don't know. So here we go. And now you'll see here, some of the warriors are probably, some of the Fury warriors are probably putting on tank gear because there's big packs here that need to be tanked by a bunch of different guys. You gonna do it? I don't think. So you'll also notice that all of these mobs got marked super fast. And basically in WoW, a lot of people don't know this, but in your keybind settings, you can actually keybind your marks. So you can have like F1, like F5 or F6 with all the different marks and just like boom, 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 mark all the different targets real quick. So that obviously helps a lot. If you're planning on raid leading, you have to mark with keybinds. You cannot click each mob and right click it and drag down on the menu. And here obviously the Goblin Sapper charges again that they're blasting all of them with. So the main tanks are keybinding all their marks. Immediately they're gonna mark each mob, boom, 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 really quick. Should happen really fast here. And then everyone knows what target they're on really quick. So little micromanage things like that help a whole lot. When it comes to speed clearing, you see it's all been marked on the next pack, super fast. No wasting time. There's actually a strategy that you could do to pretty much just cheese through this. Like they could have probably shaved, I think like 2 minutes off of this clear by skipping the right pack of Dragonkins and just using a hunter, the distracting shot the left pack, kite it down the ramp, and they just run through, and then have the warlock summon the hunter back after he feign deaths and leashes the pack after they ran through. You'll see here, this is why they bring a hunter. So they have 3 hunters in the raid, and you'll see these mobs right here are being dragged out. These are the trash packs from ahead on the left side, and a hunter pulled this and is kiting it with aspect of the pack or aspect of the cheetah down the ramp. And the raid is gonna run through without being in combat. They're gonna hug the left wall here. And wait, do I have this on? Dude, I think. Okay, so as you can see here, there's Dragonkins on the right side, so they're hugging left side. And once they all get through, the hunter's gonna feign death, and the mobs are gonna leash. So he probably feigned death like around now. They're getting through, and they have a warlock here, Void Zone, as you can see, Void Zone in group 7. He's actually right here. He's casting summon on that hunter that kited and feigned death. So they get this little neat little trick. You get through trash packs. They did not do that. Here's the captain. They brought it up, no problem. You'll see the hunters are going to be getting ready to be pulling. They're actually making a bunch of mistakes. Like they could have been doing this stuff faster, but they're going to compensate actually for it by literally pulling it. Never mind, I take that back. I like what they're doing. They literally just pulled everything in one shot. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so all the Goblin Sapper charges, they pulled everything and just hard nuked everything. On the fastest run that I saw, they used a completely different strategy, but honestly, I think I like this one better. So they basically just pulled the entirety of the almost the entirety of the first half of the bottom suppression room and just hard nuked it all down. Just all their Goblin Sappers. And then you'll see the rogues are trying to press ahead a little bit and get all the traps down. So the suppression room, if you don't know that, these little pylons like slow everyone and slow attack speed. The rogues need to disarm the traps ahead, and you got hunters that are going to be pulling the hatchers back one by one as they're trying to get through. And the hatchers actually cast Flame Strike. They get in combat. So you'll have a hunter pull the hatcher back, and then like a mage will counterspell the Flame Strike, Or if you're on Horde side, you can have a Earth Shock on the Flame Strike. Go. Suppression. Nothing too interesting. It's basically the same thing. Now going forward, getting the traps down, pulling the Hatchers. I'm surprised none of the Hatchers have casted Flame Strike as they're running towards them. Generally that happens, but there's like slight little coding differences from private server to private server. Not sure exactly how it's going to be on Classic WoW, but we'll adapt, I guess, when we. It's definitely going to be like minute, you know. A lot of people tend to exaggerate like how different private servers are going to be from retail Classic, I guess you could call it, or just Classic, but it's going to be pretty similar. Like the differences are going to be pretty minute, and some people would even argue that like Nefarian, for example, was like overtuned, that using the base numbers from the original client, because only Blizzard has access to those numbers, right? Those original numbers. Some people would argue that Nefarian got chat on pretty fast. So this boss is pretty straightforward. It's just like you have a bunch of tanks in front, and aggro swaps between them off blast waves and stuff, because aggro drops off blast wave on the target. Pretty simple. They just nuke it real quick, and they're already pulling the next packs. AoE pack here. Probably using Goblin Sapper charges. Get back to the warrior. The warrior camera angle is much better. So here we go, Firemaw. They're gonna pull him right at the corner here, bring him into a little cubby, back to the wall. There's a Shadow Flame, a Wing Buffet. The Wing Buffet drops aggro, but like, mechanics are so irrelevant when you're talking about doing things this fast. Like each boss is pretty much taking sub 30 seconds to kill. So you see how it like swapped over to the second tank. So basically it casts Wing Buffet, drops threat on whoever's top, and then goes to the off tank. Here they're gonna run through the middle, go in that neutral zone between all the packs. So you look to the right, there's mobs. You look to the left, there's mobs. They're gonna right in that neutral spot in the middle. Pull ahead, Goblin Sapper charges again. And they don't have to worry about the chromatic resistances on these guys. These guys generally have like one weakness to one element, so casters are like completely useless against these mobs unless they're vulnerable to a specific element. So having full melee, you don't have to worry about any of that. You just stomp them forward. Here we go. I'm pretty sure you can skip the pack on the left, but it's kind of risky. So you see how they're hugging the right side? I'm pretty sure they're going to skip this. They're all going to like wrap around the corner. So you see once this NPC pats to the left, they can wrap around this corner without aggroing. If this NPC was on his path over here, then they would aggro him. So they wait for him to move over to the side. They all hug the corner and get into a little cubby around here. So here we go, another AoE pack. Nothing special, just trash. And this is another reason why melee will keep grenades and stuff. So you see how these like incapacitate, like gouge. These like, you see that gouge animation on top of all the technicians. That's because all the melees are engineers. They're all using engineering as a profession, and they all have grenades. So whenever you have an AoE pack or you're going through a gauntlet or something like that, as a melee DPS, you don't have AoE. Like warriors have pretty good AoE. They have whirlwind, which is I think 8 targets or 4 targets, 4 or 8. Forget in vanilla. I know later on it was 8. Maybe it's probably 4 in vanilla, 4 or 8. Anyways, so you don't have like insane AoE when it comes to like tons of targets. You have cleave, and rogues have blade flurry. So having grenades and goblin sapper charges helps a ton when it comes to AoE as melee. So they're all casting little grenades and stuff on these mobs, and it also interrupts their casting. So every time they grenade, it stuns the targets, and you can interrupt casted abilities. So pulling these guys, nothing special. Again, just chromatic dudes. And here they're gonna pull Ebonroc. I've seen guilds pull Ebonroc and Flamegor, right? Firemaw or Flamegor, one of those. Pretty sure it's Flamegor. Firemaw was the one. Yeah, it's Flamegor. So I've seen guilds pull both dragons at once. I'm surprised these guys aren't doing it in their speed clear. But they killed Ebonroc really quick, and then they're gonna pull Flamegor. But you can pull both these dragons at the same time, line them up, one tank on one side, the other tank on the other side, line them up and just cleave both dragons. Just like hard stomp them. Yeah, so here, they're actually gonna pull both dragons. They'll pull, Ebonroc and Flamegor. Or yeah, Flamegor and Ebonroc right next to each other. They'll have one tank facing the Shadow Flame away, and then the other tank facing the Shadow Flame on the other side. And look at those cleaves. They're literally just cleaving them down. Look at those cleave after cleave after cleave after cleave. Just blasting both dragons down. Then switch to Flamegor. Okay. So here we go. Pretty simple boss fight. Just does some AoE fire damage. This aggro drop with wing buffet, so you're like, it's like a tank swap, but it's not like a modern tank swap where there's like a mechanic, you have a tank that's taunting off the other tank. It's more just there's going to be a wing buffet on the main tank who's tanking it, and then that's going to drop threat on the main tank, and it's just going to switch or by itself to the second highest threat, which is hopefully the main tank. So they're killing this, the guy's already ahead, releasing Chromatic out of the gate. Pulling Chromatic, they're going to bring him around the corner here, and all the melee are going to like get in the little, yeah, exactly, get in the little corner. No problem, no problem. This is going to die super, super fast. Like, you don't really have to worry about mechanics at this point. Like, they're stomping on content so fast, and mechanics are basically... And you see how he's like using the Goblin Sapper charge station. This comes up here. His Goblin Sapper charge is coming off cooldown. Comes up, boom, he uses it. Uses grenades too. His grenades are always off cooldown. Although I don't think you gain DPS from using grenades. I'm pretty sure that's just for AoE. Yeah, it's probably a DPS loss since you have to cast it as a Fury, or pretty much the same. So they're gonna drag it out. Head here. Whoa, they died. Okay. This is a pretty subpar run. They did some things really good and some things they could have done better. They could have done this run, I think, in 22 minutes with certain changes. But nonetheless, 25-minute Blackwing Lair is incredibly fast. But I saw some other runs. When I actually edit this, I might, like, when I'm talking about oh, they could have done this here, I might actually edit clips of the other guilds running different strategies, but they could have saved time. But this guy just died and lost all his world buffs, which is tragic. I would be so sad if that happened to me. So here's another example of melees being great. This is on Nefarian, where the mobs are popping out one by one out of the gates, and like having a big melee group here just like just two-shot each mob as they come out. Like, do you imagine being a mage here? You wouldn't even be able to get a scorch off, let alone a frostbolt. So they're just killing mob by mob, no problem, easy money. And then that's the first phase of Nefarian. Then let's get to second phase, which is, I mean, this is gonna be pretty straightforward from here. And actually, this tank specifically is different from other tanks that I've seen in speed clears. You can actually, here, I'll probably switch it and edit. Their main tank is not using a shield. You notice that? Their main tank has Thunder Fury and some other weapon. And probably what their tank is doing, and this is actually something that happens a lot, is instead of using a shield, the tank is just using a Stone Shield potion. So I'll pop up a little Stone Shield potion over here. Stone Shield potion is just a 2000 armor buff. So it's like a cruddy shield. It's like having like a blue shield. Basically, it just has 2000 armor. And with that, it compensates for the lack of armor not using a shield, and you just go dual wield and just full blast. So that's what's happening there. If you're wondering why the hell their tank doesn't have a shield on. Like, you could tank in Fury spec throughout all these speed clears without a shield. And just use Stone Shield potion, which is a 2000 armor buff on a potion for lasts 2 minutes, and it's basically like a pseudo shield, I guess you could say. So you don't use a shield, you dual wield in Fury, and you use the Stone Shield as like a fake shield. It'd be like equivalent to like a level 50 blue shield or something with like 2000 armor on it, and that allows you to just stomp through. I mean, it's not super necessary because damage is whatever anyway, so if you're a Fury tank, I mean, you'll do a bit more damage, but just one guy out of 40, I guess. But it is possible to tank a lot of these bosses without even using a shield. Being like the Fury, there's like a Fury tank spec that a lot of top guilds main tank will be running. You guys will see that when Classic releases. There's like a ton of main tanks that are going to be running into Fury. And in that spec, you could also just omit the shield on speed runs for certain boss fights and just dual wield tank, which is pretty cool, just popping Stone Shield potion. So yeah, pretty simple, nothing really else going on here. They're just gonna kill Nefarian, pop everything, execute, and that's the run. So there we go, there you have it, guys. Kill the bone constructs, 25 minutes. And Blackwing Lair has been fully cleared. So obviously it's not 100% identical to what Classic's gonna be, but it's probably like 99% or like something along those lines, right? So hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was a different one. If you guys want to see more videos like this, more commentary videos, just let me know in the comments, and like the video, and I'll keep doing them. So thanks for watching, guys, again, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you around. Peace.
I ain't a winner. Pay the front line, take the don'ts. He's coming out again for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. 4-4's the point, mark 4. Ace, deuce, scrap, wants 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 4. Ace, deuce, ace, deuce, scrap, wants 4. Scrap, wants 4. Who wants the hard 4?